Normally, the gatekeepers never seem to want to let you through because from what they heard, it's only for the rich and famous. So my drop-by bullet approach worked because before that, for months and months and months, and I'll talk about that later, I could never get through to the medium-sized presidents. But the small business men, I could get through to. I'd go on appointment, but they never could cost justify that large of an expenditure in 1987. I then got better. In 1987, I got better and better and better. I learned how to qualify. I remember those 2 questions I would ask everyone before I went on the appointment. Is there anybody else other than yourself that was involved in making this decision? If when I come and show you the Motorola phone, will you be, and you're convinced that it is by far the best value in the marketplace, will you be in a position to go ahead and make a decision? By the end of 1987, I was hotter than a $2 pistol. In December of 1987, I'll never forget, I had 56 appointments. And 54 times I walked out with a signed order and a check, because I needed, everything was leased back then, at least I'd get it with a check 54 of the 56 times. And the 2 people who didn't buy had lied to me when I tried to qualify them. They had no authority to buy a phone. I'm proud to say, and let me boast some more, for the next 8 quarters, with a sales force that grew up to 135 salespeople in the country, I never fell below second place. I was either first or second in the country. And then I left Unirel as a direct salesman. So I had learned how to sell. Using a crazy idea such as bullets inside an envelope. Over the years, there are many other different things that I've done. But the key, so the first idea is, in order to have a charismatic personality, and in order to have the courage to be different, you love yourself completely and don't ever worry about what other people really think. Because it only matters if you're doing the right thing for yourself. Idea number 2, what is the true key to having a philosophy that helps build trust with prospects and customers, even if they're nasty, cranky? Recently, I went into a big name steak and seafood restaurant. Perhaps I shouldn't mention the name, but it rhymes with the peg. I went into the bar and sat at the bar. I was all by myself. There was no one else at the bar. And as I sat there, eventually the bartender came down and acting as nice as she could be, taking my order, taking my money. And meanwhile, all the time that she was trying to act as nice as she could be, I was remembering thinking, you faker! You see, for 6 minutes she had ignored me. Sure, she was busy down at the other end of the bar serving all the waiters and waitresses. But at one point she was standing right in front of me. She could have reached over and just tapped me on the shoulder if she wanted to. Did she recognize me? Say, I'll be with you as soon as I can? Make eye contact? No, for 6 minutes she had ignored me. I recently read it as the policy of a subway chain that everyone coming through the door is supposed to be recognized within 5 seconds. Did she care? Did I feel that she really cared for me? Nah, her actions spoke louder than her words. The mantra in the business book for years has always been excellence in customer service. Care for your customers. Well, I maintain that if you really want to care for your customers, you need to not only like them, but really love your customers. And in order to really love your customers, you need to love, people think me I'm crazy again, you need to love all people unconditionally. And then you'll have no trouble loving and caring for your customers. Imagine for a moment when you leave here, you're jumping on the 401. And as you're jumping on the 401, all of a sudden, there's this car. You see it in the rearview mirror. It's coming up speeding. It passes you on the right-hand side. It cuts you off. It almost makes you crash. What does one automatically do when that happens to them? They're thinking, you jerk. Are they crazy? Honk, honk, give them the finger? Or does one automatically presume in one's mind that the person probably has someone in the back seat just having a heart attack and they're trying to get to the Etobicoke Hospital to try and save a life? Do we automatically try to reframe the situation and always be forgiving of the person in the back and when somebody does something like that to us? Imagine your name is Graham or Lou Ann Schneider. The year is 2003. Your son, Dan Schneider, was playing for the Atlantic Thrashers NHL team along with Danny Heatley. Danny Heatley was not drinking, but he was traveling way too fast with his Ferrari. Danny Heatley took a curve, lost control of the Ferrari. The Ferrari split in two. Within 7 days, your son, Dan Schneider, died from his injuries. What would your feelings be towards Danny Heatley? Graham Schneider has been quoted as saying, "Forgiveness is a part of being human." We are all human. We all make mistakes. Wow. Judge Barnes said, because of the Schneider's family wishes, no jail time. Judge Barnes also said, he wondered if he could have been as forgiving as the Schneider family was. So, the second idea was, how do you build trust with everybody? Well, if you can be totally forgiving to other people, then you can always look for the good in other people. And if you always look for the good in other people, you can be caring, compassionate, sincere, sensitive. If you can do that, then you'll never mislead, never over-exaggerate, never overstate. You will be able to be a person who is always honest, honorable, trustworthy, and you'll spell with integrity. So idea number 2, be forgiving? What kind of a sales talk is this? Number 3, what is the key to producing massive, focused action towards your goals, to be one incredible salesperson, to be part of the top 1%? What is the true key? "24 years ago, I sat in an auditorium and I saw Zig Ziglar give a sales talk, 3-hour sales talk. He's probably my favorite speaker of all times. And as I sat in that audience, I said to myself, one day I want to give sales talks. The second idea that flowed from that was, I then better become incredibly great. So that was my dream 24 years ago. Just over 12 years ago, I left the corporate world. I left Discover Communications. But that dream had still always been there. So what caused me to finally decide to launch my business as a sales speaker? The dream was always there, but why in the last 6 months did I finally decide to begin to take some steps to become a sales speaker? Why does anybody not chase their dreams? Why does anybody not decide that they can be one of the greatest salespeople there are? There are two main. Number one, fear of failure. The reason people don't chase their dreams and decide to try to be the one incredible salesperson is fear of failure. A little voice goes in the back of my mind. If I try, I'm going to fail. The second is belief in one's self. Our unconscious mind there is 1,000,000 times more active than our conscious minds. So I always read, make your own sell yourself to yourself commercial. Well, I had done that. I had made up a list of 50 things that I'd done in my life that were incredible. Many years ago, I had taken neuro-linguistic programming, and I learned some techniques that I hadn't put into effect yet. I took that list. It now stands at 73 things that I've done that I felt were just incredible. And I took that list and I anchored them. An anchor in psychology and neuro-linguistic program is anything that brings back a state. Your favorite song, smell of some apple pie, they immediately affect your state. Let me explain anchoring a little bit further. Imagine for a moment someone is at a funeral of a true dear loved one and they are in a state of grief. And someone comes up and just puts their hand on their shoulders and just squeezes it, attempting to console. Well, those two little pressure points are now anchored to the grief state. And if a few months later someone comes up to them afterwards and says, and squeezes those 2 points, all of a sudden that state of grief will come back to that person. And they have no idea why. Though anchors can be extremely powerful. If you're not chasing to become part of the 1% club, if you're not chasing your dreams, you need to develop your own sell yourself commercial.